Okay, we are back rolling live here at the Schwab Impact Conference in beautiful San Francisco. And we have with us right now a real special guest, Chris Reedy, who's the Head of Business Development for Schwab Advisor Services. Chris, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
All right, I know you're a busy guy. This is a huge, amazing conference.
Yeah.
We appreciate you taking some time with us. And as we were talking a little bit off camera, what we'd like to talk about on goRIA is one of two things, and I think we're going to cover both with you today, which is why consider going RIA, or perhaps why are we seeing so many people going RIA, and how can they go RIA? So why don't you start us off with why do you think so many people are going RIA? Because we're definitely seeing a lot of momentum in that direction.
Yeah, I mean, we're generally seeing one of a few reasons that someone's choosing to become an RIA. One, they're looking for more control over their employee and client experience. They're oftentimes looking for better economics, and one sort of intangible thing is that really it's their life's work, and they want to have a meaningful legacy for their life's work, whether that's having their name on the door or thinking about what the future is for the ownership of the business, or wanting to develop partners in their firm. So it's usually one of those three things are the main driver. And that hasn't really changed. That's sort of a consistent theme, although of course the ecosystem has developed over all the years.
For sure.
But it's always the same sort of drivers. They're looking to gain control of their employee and client experience. They're looking for better economics and meaningful legacy.
Yeah, we hear that all the time on goRIA. And what's interesting, I think a lot of folks start thinking about it because they hear about the higher payout structures, generally speaking, and who doesn't like more money. But when I talk to advisors that have gone RIA, what they say they love the most is the freedom.
Sure.
The freedom to run the kind of business they want to run, the freedom to implement the solutions and products that they want to implement without having to run it up this huge corporate chain and back down again. Is that consistent with what you're hearing as well?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's freedom and flexibility to serve your clients and do what you need for them when it's needed for them. To grow your business and just plain and simple serve them.
Yeah. Okay.
So, open architecture, technology stacks that are developed uniquely for all the different segments of the market, rather than being on an enterprise system where, it's potentially, to the lowest common denominator because you have to do it for everyone. But if you're owning your own firm, or you're you join a firm, that technology stack is being built uniquely for the set of clients that are there, and so you can deliver what your clients are looking for.
Yeah, and I think that's a real consistent pain point that we hear from a lot of advisors coming from the broker-dealer space, especially some of the wirehouses, right? So I've been doing this for 30 years. I started off as a cold call cowboy in New York City, right? And when you're at one of those brokerage firms, here's your technology, period, end of story, right? You get what you get, and you can't get upset. There's no changing it. But when you have your own firm, you have the ability to build the technology that you always wish you had. And there's so many resources. I'm looking out over your conference floor here, which is cavernous. It's huge, and a lot of great information out there, and so many different technology vendors to choose from that are all vying for my business. And it's that competition amongst the different vendors, especially in technology, that I think is driving all the innovation that we're seeing.
Oh yeah, and I'm certainly not a technology expert, but when you think about the models, if you're a great big firm, you're building an enterprise system, and you have to have your controls and your risk controls for that. If you're a smaller firm, you certainly have the ability, because it's an open architecture world, to choose what's going to deliver the right client reports for you, what's going to be the portfolio accounting reporting system that you need to deliver the kind of advice your firm delivers, and to the unique set of clients that you work with. Absolutely.
So let's pivot a little bit to how can people go RIA? There's so many different flavors of that, but can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of paths that you can choose. Some advisors are looking to launch their own RIA. They're looking to build all the components. Some are looking to partner with a firm. And even those that launch their own RIA, it's very common to choose to outsource some components.
For sure.
There's things like compliance consultants and the like. And everyone is going to have their own attorney. No one's going to have their in-house attorney write all their documents if you're launching a firm. I suppose you could, but seems unlikely.
Absolutely.
And then oftentimes advisors are joining, and we've actually found that trend has been grown over the years. And I think that's just the development of the ecosystem. This industry has been growing at a pretty substantial pace. I think this Reedy report said it was 10.9% for the last 10 years. So when you're seeing that kind of growth, you now have this full ecosystem. Less than 5,000 of our closest friends here at our conference. And there's a path within there for a lot of advisors, and they're able to find the right cultural fit. They're able to find the firm that is going to have the resources to help them grow and serve their clients and deliver an experience to their staff that they're looking for.
Yeah, and that's also something we talk a lot about on the show, which is, if you want to go the wirehouse route, you probably have a handful of good choices to choose from if you want that. If you wanted to go the independent broker-dealer route, what do you have, like a dozen choices that you want to go through? But if you wanted to go the RIA route, number one, the first part is, do I build my own or do I tuck in? If you want to build your own, ton of resources to help you do that. But what's interesting, I think, if you want to join a firm, which is becoming, to your point, more and more common, there are so many great tuck-in options, I would say hundreds, that you could find one that's going to be a fit almost exactly what you would have built yourself. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah. I mean, with what we will do when an advisor comes to us and is starting to look to go independent, become an RIA, we'll go through a consultative process, helping them model out what their firm should look like, help them do some economics and understand those components. And then our consultants will work with them as they go through the process of that discovery, deciding what's going to be the right path for them. Oftentimes advisors start their conversation with us not necessarily knowing, are we going to launch a firm or are we going to join one? So we can help them through that decision process, and our BDOs are ready and looking forward to their phone call.
All right. Yeah. So let's pivot to that for a little bit as well. So an advisor calls you up. I've been watching goRIA.com perhaps.
Okay.
Yep? And I'm like, I'm hooked. And also what I think we're seeing a lot more of, I don't think there's one broker-dealer advisor that doesn't have at least one friend that has gone RIA. They know someone, right?
I was a branch manager for many years at a wirehouse.
Yeah.
And I remember when the branch manager, town next to me, called me up and said, these two guys had left. And I said, well, where'd they go? And he said, well, they started a firm.
What?
I said, how do you do that?
When was this?
03 or something like that.
Right. Sure.
And the entire concept was just, you mean they registered with the SEC? How do you do that?
Right. That's kind of hard.
It just seemed, it seemed incomprehensible to me.
Right.
Sure enough, I've been with Schwab since 2012, and it's a well-worn path. We've seen thousands of advisors do it. We've seen thousands of advisors, of course, join firms as well. So,
sure.
That's the route that, this is the fastest growing segment of wealth management, and we expect that to continue.
And for good reason. So you have this advisor that's sort of RIA curious. They reach out to your team, and what are some of the steps that your BDO will and a BDO business development officer, right, consultant?
Yeah.
What is that person going to do for that curious advisor that wants to learn more about the RIA space?
It may sound corny, but I'd say it's helped make their dream a reality.
Yeah.
So it's first of all figure out what that dream is, our BDOs are very experienced. Our entire team, all my colleagues are really experienced. So I have a bunch of colleagues who have worked with many advisors through that process, and they're going to help them understand, educate, what are the different components of running a firm, what are the different components that they need to start thinking about, and sometimes it's a little introspective of what do you actually want to do, what do you enjoy doing, What do
little
you not
counseling,
enjoy
perhaps.
doing? And then eventually the decision is obvious.
Right.
You know, this is my path, and then we help them execute.
Do you guys have like pro formas and stuff that these advisors could start filling out, and what kind of like resources and tools do you have?
Our business consulting and education group has our consultants will work with them on firm design. They'll work with them on economic model, and give them a tool that's iterative that they can build out and work with as they go along.
All right, that sounds good. So here's a question that we get a lot, which is, how small is too small to consider building your own RIA? We got all kinds of answers on that, but I'm curious what your take is.
Yeah, I don't think there is a too small. Because this industry, the entire model is built bespoke for every firm. I don't think there really is a too small. There are a number of tools and resources and partners that someone can work with to leverage and gain a little scale if they're a smaller book that they're looking to launch with. And some find that choosing a path to join is actually the right choice for them.
Yeah.
But there is no too small, and there's certainly no too big. We actually used to get, quite frankly, that maybe I'm too big question a few years ago. But I think folks have seen all the corner office folks start to launch, and they realize, well, we're certainly not too big either.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So one thing I love saying is you could have a laptop and a dream and you can start an RIA. There's that many resources out there.
Yeah.
And again, I'm panning out here. Next year for goRIA, we're going to bring in a second camera to do some B-roll,
Okay.
Because you always see this and it always looks like I'm in the same spot.
Yeah.
But these are all very different conferences. And let me tell you something, I'm a huge fan of conferences. And this is the biggest one I've ever seen, and such amazing content. And I love it because we get to talk to folks like yourself, we talk to Kitzes, we talk to Abby Salome. It's just a cornucopia of really top-notch people that you get to interact with in person. So I appreciate you putting these on.
Oh, we love it. And, Rick was talking today about how this is so different, how, he comes to this conference the first time he came and he sees all these people, hey, and they're hugging each other. And this is a pretty collegial industry.
For sure.
Someone may be technically a competitive firm, but it's a pretty collegial industry, and even though it's quite big now.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But you guys are doing an amazing job here, and like I said, for next year we're going to get some footage of the actual stuff that's happening, because this is not doing it justice for what's happening here. And I know we only have you for another couple of minutes, but one question I'm going to ask you is this.
Okay.
And this is a story we've been dying to do at goRIA, and we cannot find this unicorn. And here's the unicorn.
Okay.
Someone that went RIA and said, not for me, and went back to the broker-dealer world. Does that person exist?
That's still a unicorn in my world too.
Not one.
I mean, you don't. They go one direction.
That's right. I've never seen anyone say,
never seen it.
All this extra money and reasonable compliance, not for me.
Yeah, I have not seen it myself.
Absolutely. Well, if you do, would you let us know? Because I would love to do that story.
I think we'll all talk about it because it'll be a unique one.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I think that's about it. Any final thoughts for the audience?
No. I hope to see everyone at next year's Impact.
Absolutely. All right. Well, Chris Reedy, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. And so this is the last segment for today. I will be back tomorrow. We're going to do another 4 or 5 more segments live at Schwab Impact in San Francisco. On behalf of goRIA, fueled by Investment News, I'm Chuck Vela, and I will see you then. Thanks for joining us. And Chris, thanks again. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Chuck.
Okay.